Our Yom Kippur service continues on page 138.
Adonai ahavti be'on betecha u'mekom mishkan kevodecha mishkan kodecha va'ani eshtachaveh lecha evrecha lifnei Adonai.
The shofar points upwards to direct our hearts to heaven. Psalm 121 on page 140 similarly talks of looking up, of thinking beyond ourselves, of directing our eyes and thus our hearts to God. There's a mitzvah of studying every morning. You can find the blessing before study on page 142. Our study passage itself is on page 205. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, asher kiddushanu b'mitzvotav v'tzivanu la'asok b'divrei Torah.
Once we've stopped acting like God, we might allow God's presence to be more active in our lives. Imagine that. Belief in God is difficult for many of us. During trying times, it's hard. But it's impossible if we consider ourselves to be the highest power in the universe. Being humble enough to consider that there may be something greater than we are is a first step towards faith. And if we believe that there could be a power greater than we are, we might turn to that power for strength, for comfort, for guidance, and love when we're facing moments of our own helplessness. As the psalmists say, God is our refuge and our stronghold, a help in troubled times, very near. Therefore, we're not afraid, though the earth reels, though the mountains tremble to the sea. Or the more famous psalm, yea, though I walk through the shadows of death, I will fear no evil, for thou art with me. Thy rod and thy staff, they comfort me. Not being God allows us to experience what a relationship with God might be like.
We turn back to page 170. Page 170 for our psalm for this morning, Psalm 150. Pages 171 and 172.
If our mouths were filled with song as the sea, our tongues with music like the crash of ocean waves, our lips with praise endless as sky above, our eyes aglow like sun and moon, our arms reaching toward heaven like eagle's wings, our legs as graceful as the gazelle in flight. Still, our words of thanks to you would not suffice, eternal our God, and God of all ages. Nor could we bless your name enough for your infinite acts of kindness to our ancestors and to us. From Egypt you redeemed us, eternal our God, and from a world of slavery you saved us. In times of hunger you fed us. In times of plenty you nourished us. You turned our blight into blessing, spared us from suffering, and rescued us from the sword. Your mercy supports us, and your love abides now as in the past. Never forsake us, eternal our God. Never turn away.
Ha'el b'ta'at sumotuzecha, hagadol bichvod shemecha, hagibor lenetzach v'hanora b'noratecha, hamelech yoshev al kisei ram v'nisa, shochen ad marom v'kadosh shemo, v'chatuv rananud tzadikim b'Adonai, lai sharim na'ava tehila. 174. בפי ישרים תתרומם, ובדברי צדיקים תתברך, ובלשון חסידים תתקדש, ובקרב קדושים תתהלל. By the mouths of the upright you are raised up. In the words of the righteous you are blessed. On the tongues of the pious you are sanctified. In the midst of the holy you are praised. Your people by the thousands sing to glorify your name. In all generations we give voice to your sovereignty. We invite you to rise as you are able for Yishtabach, which leads us into Chatzi Kaddish and Baruch Hu. Yishtabach Shimcha La'ad Malkeinu, Ha'el HaMelech HaGadol VaHaKadosh B'Shamayim U'Va'aretz. Ki Lecha Na'eh Adonai Eloheinu V'Elehei Avotenu V'Imotenu. Shir U'Shvacha, Halel V'Zimra, Ozu Memshala, Netzach Gudula U'Gevura. Tehillah V'Tiferet, Kedusha U'Malchut Barachot V'Hodaot, Me'ata V'Ad Olam. Baruch Ata Adonai, El Melech Gadol B'Tishbachot, El HaHodaot, Adon HaNiflaot, Haboche B'Shirei Zimra, Melech El Chei HaOlamim. Chatzi Kaddish is page 176.
Yitgadol v'yitkadosh Shemei Rahama. Divrach Yurutei ve'amlich malchutei.
Please be seated. As we continue on page 181.
Like an unbroken current, energy streams from the source, bathing the planet in light, calling forth life, movement, mind unfolding from matter, the power to love. And we offer it back to you, our own creative energy ever dreaming, building, shaping patterns out of chaos, searching out light in the darkness. Creation never ceases, not for an instant. All life is aglow with your light. All things draw sustenance from the source.
On page 186. Long ago, in the courtyard of the temple, on the holy day of Yom Kippur, the high priest proclaimed aloud the sacred name of God. And all the people fell to the ground, prostrated themselves, and called, Baruch Shem Kavod Malchuto Le'olam Va'ed. Blessed is God's glorious majesty forever and ever. Millennia have passed, but we still speak these words aloud, witnesses forever to the truth of God's dominion. And on this day of atonement, we rise as you are able, for Shema, starting on page 186.
את אדוני אלוהיך בכל לבבך ובכל נפשך ובכל מאודיך והיו הדברים האלה אשר אנוכי מצווך היום על לבביך ושיננתם לבניך ודיברת בם בשבתך בביתך ובלכתך בדרך ובשוכבך ובקומך וקשרתם לאות על ידיך והיו לטוטפות בין עיניך וכתבתם על מזוזות ביתך ובשעריך.
191.
למען תזכרו ועשיתם את כל מצוותיי והייתם קדושים לאלוהיכם. אני אדוני אלוהיכם אשר הוצאתי אתכם מארץ מצרים לחיות לכם לאלוהים. אני אדוני אלוהיכם אדוני אלוהיכם. Amen.
Please be seated as we turn to page 196. Sorry, 194. From Egypt you redeemed us, Adonai our God, and from the slave house you set us free. For this the people who felt your love exalted you, and the ones you found precious sang hymns of praise, blessing and thanks to the living God who reigns forever. High and exalted, inspiring wonder, who humbles the proud and raises the lowly, who frees the captive, redeems the oppressed, and sustains the poor. God responds to the cry of our people, their prayer in time of need. Sing praise to God Most High, most blessed source of blessing, as Moses, Miriam, and all Israel sang this joyous song to you.
Shana ועד היום, יחד כולם הודו והמליכו ואמרו.
Page 198, we prepare ourselves for tefillah.
In the depths of night, by the edge of the river, Jacob was left alone. In heartfelt longing in the temple of God, Hannah uttered her prayer alone. In the barren wilderness, in doubt and despair, Elijah found God alone. On the holiest day, in the Holy of Holies, the high priest entered alone. We are bound to one another in myriad ways, but each soul needs time to itself. In solitude, we meet the solitary one. Silence makes space for the small, still small voice. For the psalmist says, "Deep calls unto deep. From the depths of our soul, we seek what is most profound. Adonai, sefatai tiftach, ufi yagid tehilatecha. Adonai, open my lips, that my mouth may declare your praise."
We invite you to rise as you are able as we open the ark for tefillah, including Unutane Tokef.
Adonai satai tiftach. Adonai satai tiftach. Ufi yagid tehilatecha. Ufi yagid tehilatecha.
Ata Adonai Eloheinu, Elohei Avotenu, B'imotenu, Elohei Avraham, Elohei Yitzhak, Elohei Yaakov, Elohei Sarah, Elohei Rivka, Elohei Ha'el Hagadol Hagibor V'Hanora El Elyon Gomel Chasadim Tovim V'Konei Hakol V'Zocher Chastei Avot V'Imaot Umevi Geula Livnei V'neihem Leman Shemo Melech Ozer Umoshia Umagen Baruch Ata Adonai Magen Avraham Vezrat Sarah Ata Gibor Leolam Adonai Mechaye Akol Ata Rav Lehoshia Morid Atal Michamocha el harachamim, zocher yitzurav l'chaim berachamim, v'ne'eman atalach yot hakol, baruch ata Adonai, mechaye hakol.
In the middle of page 207.
shall I say, is calling? And who in your lonely slip, who by barbiturate, who in these realms of love, who by something blunt, who by avalanche, who by powder, who for his greed, who for his hunger, and who shall I say is calling? And who by brave ascent, who by accident, who in solitude, who in this mirror, who by his lady's command, who by his own hand, who in mortal chains, who in power, and who shall I say is calling?
On page 208. Our sovereign, God of pardon and forgiveness, let these words of sanctity ascend to you. We read, in truth, you are judge and plaintiff, counselor and witness. You inscribe and seal. You record and recount. You remember all that we have forgotten. And when you open the book of memories, it speaks for itself. For every human hand leaves its mark, an imprint like no other. And so a great shofar will cry, Tekiah. A still small voice will be heard. Angels in a world of fear and trembling will say, behold the day of judgment. For they too are judged. In your eyes, even they are not blameless. All who come into the world pass before you like sheep before their shepherd. As a shepherd considers the flock when it passes beneath the staff, you count and consider every life. You set bounds, you decide destiny, you inscribe judgments. On page 214. Uteshuva, utefila, utsedaka, ma'avirin et roa hagezera. But through return to the right path, through prayer and righteous giving, we can transcend the harshness of the decree. We read, you are everything that we praise you for, slow to anger, quick to forgive. You do not wish the death of sinners, but urge them to return from their ways and live. Until the day of death, you wait for them. You accept them at once if they return. Since you created us, you know our impulses. We are but flesh and blood. We who are mortal Our origin is dust, and so is our end. We wear out our lives to get our bread. Like broken vessels, like withered grass, like a flower that must fade, a shadow moving on, a cloud passing by, mere dust on the wind, a dream that flies away. But for you, ever-living sovereign, time has no limits. Your presence, unbounded by days and years, is everywhere. A glorious mystery none can decipher. Your name is worthy of you, and you are worthy of your name, and our name you have linked with yours. On 2:18. Nakadesh et shemcha ba'olam, kashem shemakdishim oto bishmei marom, kakatuv al yad neviyecha v'karazeh el zeh v'amar, kadosh, kadosh, kadosh Adonai tzavaot, maloch ol haaretz kavodo, adir adirenu Adonai Adonenu, ma'adir shemcha b'chol haaretz, baruch kavod Adonai mimkomo. Echad hu Eloheinu, hu Avinu, hu Malkeinu, hu Moshienu, v'hu Yashmienu barachamav le'enei kol chai. Ani Adonai Eloheichem. On 2:20. Yimloch Adonai le'olam, Elohayich Zion, l'dor v'dor hallelujah. L'dor v'dor nagid godlecha, u'lenetzach netzachim kudushatecha nakdish. V'shivchacha Eloheinu mipinu lo yamush le'olam va'ed, ki el melech gadol v'kadosh ata. On page 230. You chose us with love to be messengers of mitzvot, and through us you made known your aspirations. Among all the many peoples you gave us a pathway to holiness. Among all the great nations you uplifted us and made yourself our sovereign. And so we seek you and serve you and celebrate our nearness to your presence. Your great and sacred name has become our calling. In your love, eternal our God, you have given us this Shabbat for holiness and rest, and this Yom Kippur, a day on which our wrongs are forgiven with love, a day of sacred assembly, a day to be mindful of our peoples going out from Egypt. Our God and the God of the generations before us, may a memory of us ascend and come before you. May it be heard and seen by you, winning your favor and reaching your awareness, together with the memory of our ancestors, the memory of your sacred city, Jerusalem, and the memory of your people, the family of Israel. May we be remembered for safety, well-being, and favor, for love and compassion, for life and for peace on this day of atonement. Zochrenu Adonai Eloheinu bo l'tovah. Amen. Ufokdenu vo livracha. Amen. V'hoshienu vo l'chaim. Uvidvar Yeshua v'rachamim chus v'chonenu, v'rachem aleinu v'hoshienu, ki elecha einenu, ki el melech hanun v'rachum ata. And on 2:3-4 we read, Our God and God of our forebears, pardon our failings on this day of Shabbat and this day of atonement. Erase our misdeeds, see beyond our defiance. For Isaiah said in your name, It is I alone who wipe away your defiant acts. This is my essence, I shall pay no heed to your errors. And the prophet said, As a cloud fades away, as mist dissolves into air, so your wrongs and mistakes shall be gone. I will wipe them away. Come back to me that I may redeem you. As you said to Moses, For on this day atonement shall be made for you, to purify you from all your wrongs, and pure you shall be in the presence of Adonai. We close the ark and remain standing for the rest of Tefillah, which continues on page 236.
God who is ours and God of our fathers and mothers, may our rest on this Shabbat bring you pleasure. Lead us to holiness through your mitzvot, and may we And may each of us find a portion of Torah that is ours. You bestow such goodness. Teach us to be satisfied and to know the joy of your salvation. Let your holy Shabbat be our heritage, embraced freely and with love. And may all our people bring holiness to your name by resting on this day.
Help us to serve you truly with purity of heart, for you are the forgiver of Israel, in every generation granting pardon to the tribes of Yeshurun. We have no God of forgiveness and pardon, but you alone.
You are blessed, Adonai, sovereign, who forgives our failings and pardons the failings of your people, the house of Israel. You banish our guilt from year to year. You reign in majesty over all the earth. You sanctify Shabbat, the people Israel, and the Day of Atonement.
238. Eternal our God, your people Israel yearns for your favor. Receive their prayer with loving acceptance. May you always desire your people's worship. Divine One, close to all who call upon you, bring your grace and presence near to those who serve you. Pour forth your Spirit upon us, and may our eyes see your merciful return to Zion. Baruch atah Adonai, hamachazeh shechinato leTzion. On page 240 and 242.
God, who is ours, God of all generations, to you we are grateful forever. Rock and protector of our lives, your saving power endures from age to age. We thank you and tell the tale of your praise, your power in our lives, your caring for our souls, the constant miracle of your kindness. Morning, noon, and night, we call you goodness, for your compassion never ends. We call you mercy, for your love has no limit. We call you hope, now and for all time. And for all these gifts, God of majesty, may your name come to be blessed and praised, our gratitude a daily offering until the end of time. Inscribe your covenant partners for a life of goodness, and may all life resound with gratitude and faith and praise of your name. God, you free us and strengthen us. Baruch atah Adonai, atah simcha v'kanade l'adon.
Amen. 244. Eloheinu v'Elahei avotenu v'imotenu, baruchenu b'bracha hamshuleshet hakutuva b'Torah, ha'amura mipi kohanim, am kodoshecha ka'amor. Yivarechacha Adonai v'yishmerecha. Ya'eh Adonai panav elecha v'chuneka. Yisa Adonai panav elecha v'yasem lecha shalom. On page 246.
Shalom.
spend a moment in our own personal prayer, either with the traditional prayer on page 248 or with a prayer in our own heart. Page 250.
Ose shalom bimroma, uyase shalom aleinu. Le'at Israel ve'imeru, amen. Ose shalom bimroma, uyase shalom aleinu. Le'at Israel ve'imeru, amen. Ose shalom bimroma, uyase shalom aleinu. Le'at Israel ve'imeru, amen. Ose shalom bimroma, uyase shalom
Please be seated. In Talmud, God and Moses are at Sinai. God tells Moses about a great sage in the future called Rabbi Akiva, who will expound on every crown of every letter in Torah. Moses asks to see this man, so God invites Moses to turn around. Moses finds himself essentially teleported into the future, sitting in Akiva's classroom. But as he listens, he does not understand a word of what is being taught, and his strength wanes. When a student asks Akiva from where he derived that particular lesson, Akiva replies, "It is a law given to Moses from Sinai, and only then is Moses' mind put at ease." Since Rosh Hashanah, I've been sharing the idea of shattered paradigms, of how sometimes Judaism changes quickly and dramatically, sometimes as a result of our choices, sometimes as a result of the choices of others. I've shared the need for us to acknowledge that we are now in a time in which notable change to our Jewish practice, theology, and identity is necessary for the continuation of Judaism, including last night when I asked us to reconsider the gender paradigm that has for so long defined Judaism. And all these shattered paradigms might seem rather dramatic to us. But the story of Moses in the Kiva's lecture hall shows us that what we can easily mistake for a fairly monolithic tradition has in fact always undergone dramatic changes, to the point that Moses doesn't recognize the Judaism that's being taught in his name over 1,000 years after him. Moses doesn't recognize the Judaism that we all know. That's extraordinary. Moses wouldn't have known of the High Holy Day liturgy, like the 12th century Unatane Tokef prayer we just prayed, or the great Aleinu, which is first mentioned in the 3rd century but is attributed to Joshua's conquest of Canaan, which is after Moses died. Moses wouldn't have known the Mourner's Kaddish. Moses wouldn't have known Kol Nidre, which are both Aramaic insertions into our service, revealing their origins far later than Moses. Moses wouldn't have actually known of any regular prayer services, because they replaced sacrifice after the Romans destroyed the Second Temple. Moses wouldn't have known of Hanukkah, which happened 1,000 years after him. He wouldn't have known of the Seder service, which was created after that. He wouldn't have known of the ritual of Tashlich, which was a medieval religious innovation. He wouldn't have known of apples dipped in honey, or even bagels. Moses never ate a bagel. I shouldn't mention food now, I'm sorry. Anyway, we all know of these things are profoundly Jewish, even though they appeared in Judaism over time. We don't need to pretend that Moses knew them all and secretly passed down the information to others to reveal over countless generations, as some Jews claim. Religious innovation, creativity, and transformation is profoundly Jewish. In fact, I would say it is only religious innovation, creativity, and transformation that has kept Judaism alive. But those things can be scary. They can be uncomfortable. In the last few decades in particular, Jews around the world have become very comfortable. We've established our places of worship. We've made strong connections with local and national politicians, with interfaith leaders, and with academics. Our voices have been lifted up in media. We knew that we were never totally safe, which is why we've had security for so long. But we at least felt comfortable with our place in society, because we had become certain that society had, on the whole, learned to appreciate our values, our opinions, our very being. And we believed that society would continue to progress. The last year has changed that entirely. The paradigm of safety, of comfort, of trust, the belief that society had progressed with respect to the Jews has for most of us been utterly shattered since we were last here on Yom Kippur. Time and again, over the last year, crucial allies have revealed themselves to have been only allies of convenience when we supported their cause. And worse, we came to learn that anti-Semitism had not gone away. It was just simmering beneath the surface of regular communal discourse, waiting for an excuse to gush forth. We were vilified. I was vilified for even daring to support the right of the state of Israel to exist, and for critiquing all sides in differing ways in the current conflict. In the last year alone, for example, I have been accused by strangers, by friends and colleagues, now former friends and former colleagues, by members and by non-members, by individuals both Jewish and non-Jewish here in Santa Fe and beyond. I've been accused of being a liar, of being a baby killer, of being anti-Semitic, of being Islamophobic, and even of being someone who supports white supremacy. And I know that I am not alone in our community having faced such monstrous accusations. In the last year, I have been involved in multiple conversations with people who even tried to redefine the term anti-Semitism as not actually being about Jews. During the last year, many local human rights advocates and religious leaders suddenly only cared about human rights on one side of a terrible conflict. Social justice advocates, from local environmental groups to reproductive rights groups, went way beyond their expertise this year and posted support for only one side in a conflict about which they clearly knew nothing. And at the same time, school children in our community started to experience anti-Semitism in ways that they had never experienced before, including being shown pictures of ovens for them to choose which one they would be put in. The modern post-Enlightenment paradigm of Jewish comfort, our sense of stability as Jews, which was totally predicated on a belief in progress, has been totally and utterly shattered yet again in our people's history. And we now are living among the shards, trying to process what has happened and trying to work out how to even talk to each other about what has happened. And let's be clear. Obviously, we are also in the midst of a huge paradigm shift for so many people regarding the state of Israel itself. A paradigm shift that we are all profoundly wrestling with. This year has been so painful, not just because of what is happening, which is terribly painful, but also it's been painful in watching members and friends argue and fight about it. And originally, I'll admit, I tried to write a sermon about that particular paradigm shift in relation to the state of Israel. But I admit I failed to find the words that might bring people together. Every word I wrote, I thought I would anger someone. And so I was paralyzed in the face of being able to comment about such an essential matter. And I think that paralysis is really important for all of us right now. And so instead, this sermon is about particularly the pain of the last year that we have all experienced. And this is not, as you might have guessed, a comforting sermon. Yom Kippur isn't meant to be a day of comfort. It's a day of afflicting our souls. That's why you have to listen to one of my sermons. Reading our High Holy Day liturgy, metaphorically instead of literally, I don't personally believe that there is an actual book of life into which our names are written. Instead, I believe that the point of the High Holy Day liturgy is to use these metaphors to instill in us a sense of peril, a sense of profound discomfort, which then leads to personal change. Think of the way that we beg to be written into the book of life and then to be sealed into it. The way we rush and we plead before the gates of repentance close. There's desperation there. During Unatane Tokef, we read of those who die in natural and unnatural ways. And we realize that we were not among them this year, but we could be next year. It's scary. But then every year, after Yom Kippur, we quickly brush aside that feeling of insecurity. We sit in the sukkah and we chill out. And then very quickly another year passes and suddenly we're clambering to atone again. That's not how we're meant to be, because the issue for us isn't really how we behave during the 10 days in between Rosh Hashanah and Yom Kippur. It's how we behave during the entire year, from Yom Kippur to Rosh Hashanah. The insecurity that we feel today is meant to last into the rest of the year. It's just magnified today. Kol ha'ulam kulo geshed sa ma'od. The whole world really is a very narrow bridge, especially for us. We live and have always lived on an eternal precipice, but we forgot. We got comfortable. We pretended to be like everyone else. We started to think like everyone else. We believed that the world was progressing, that we were safe. But being Jewish means living on the bridge, seeing that the world is precariously balanced, and that just one good deed or one bad deed by anyone may shift the balance for us and for the entire world. We have gone from the comfort of progress to the realization of tipping points. The world teeters on edge. It always has. But we forgot how quickly it can tip. And so we reassured ourselves and the next generation that everything will be fine, that our society will always progress, that even if the present isn't wonderful, the future will always by definition be good. Of course then, if we held that to be true, of course we would then start to despair when the social advances of yesteryear were dismantled and when anti-Semitism reared its head once more. We all bought into a pseudo-religion of the certainty of progress. We taught it as the overarching paradigm, not just of our society today, but of history as a whole. Now, though, we realize that the guarantee of progress was a comforting lie, a convenient thought paradigm that was utterly predicated on the unlimited technological abuse of the earth from which we benefited. And so now we watch as our society clambers, as we clamber to make sense of that shattered paradigm, as well as a multitude of other simultaneously shattering paradigms, such as patriarchy and racism. And we in the liberal Jewish community, we are fine with the shatterings of paradigms of patriarchy and racism and others. But we were not expecting to have the paradigm of the certainty of progress shattered, because it was an essential underlying assumption of our liberal education. And yes, of course, there have been many advances in our society in the last few hundred years. Of course there have. But those advances came at a very heavy cost, because many of them stole from the promise of a better future that they were themselves there to create. Depression, despair, hopelessness, all of those feelings have reported massive increases worldwide in the last couple of decades, as the certainty of a better future gives way to the terrifying prospect that a better future is not guaranteed. It's something that we have to fight for. And that feeling of not knowing which way the world will go, a feeling that very many people around the world have right now and will have at least until November the 5th and maybe beyond. That fear, that uncertainty, that knot in your stomach, that's actually the root of Judaism. Because that is what inspires us to act. We are not here to be comfortable. We are here to bring about redemption. We are here to take that uncertainty that we feel, that existential dread, and turn it into action. But we got too comfortable, too certain that the world was going to be fine, too sure that most other people and organizations shared our values, so we sat back and we enjoyed our lives. We basked in our comforts, believing that after millennia of brutal oppression, our people had finally earned them. But we are not here to be comfortable. We are here to bring about redemption. This year has felt rather like the moment in Fiddler on the Roof, when the Cossacks engage in a pogrom during Saitel's wedding. Everything had been fine. Not great, but fine. People were getting on with their lives, and then suddenly, terrifying violence from outside. After the pogrom, Tevye looks heavenward with a look to God that asks, why? Why? Because that's our job, not to get too comfortable. It is our job to live on the tipping point. That is the Jewish task. We all are, have always been, and will always be both a light to the nations and a fiddler on the roof, trying to change the world for the better, while also just trying to scratch out a pleasant, simple tune without breaking our neck. And while those around us get comfortable, we have a job to do. And when we forget about that sacred task, the rest of the world has a disturbing habit of reminding us of it in the worst way possible. And let me be clear that this is not a sermon about Jews being better than the rest of the world. I am, of course, not saying. What I am saying, though, is that to be religiously Jewish means having a spirituality that inspires us never to get comfortable in our secular society's paradigms and the lies that we tell ourselves to enforce those paradigms. So we have to choose, right now, this Yom Kippur, whether this is going to be a year of comfort or a year of helping to bring about redemption. We sought comfort in the wrong place, and it left us feeling like Moses in the Kiva's classroom, confused and with our strength waning. And here's the really interesting continuation of the story of Moses in Akiva's classroom. Moses returns to God and asks, "You have a man such as this, and yet you chose to give the Torah through me?" To which God responds, "Be silent. This is according to my plan." In other words, you don't get to choose to be chosen or not. You already are. We don't get to be here today and then return and pretend to be like the rest of society. We are here because we are different, and we are different because we are here. We are here on Yom Kippur because we have a sacred task, no matter the cost to ourselves. As the story of Moses and Akiva continues, Moses asks God, "You have shown me his Torah, now show me his reward." And God tells Moses to turn around again. Moses sees Akiva's flesh being weighed in the marketplace. So Moses turns to God and cries, "This is his Torah, and this is his reward?" To which God replies the same phrase, "Be silent. This is according to my plan." Moses doesn't get it. He's still set in the paradigm of working and then receiving a subsequent reward, which is framed like the theology of the book of Deuteronomy from the 5 books of, you know. To Moses, the reward, the thing that brings comfort, comes after the task. Moses expects reward after the labor because he doesn't realize the sacred task is the reward. Our reward, our comfort in difficult times, is knowing that we can step outside, that society needs us to step outside of its own paradigm, to gently critique it and to improve it. That's what it means to be Or Lagoyim, a light unto the nations. To follow our sacred task by not getting too comfortable in society's paradigms and instead gently critiquing, or perhaps forcefully critiquing if need be, and improving them all. We are the Hebrews, the Ivrim, the people who transcend society's paradigms, the people who stand outside and often get vilified for it, but do so nonetheless. We step outside, especially during difficult times, not despite it being uncomfortable, but because it is uncomfortable. We question our society not because we are exceptional, but because we believe there can be more. It is our act of stepping outside that is what is exceptional, not us ourselves. And in Judaism, we do that in a particular way, not by shutting ourselves off in a cave, but by doing what we're doing today, by repenting and by atoning, which means by questioning ourselves and by questioning our society that shapes us. And this is why despair is not a Jewish thing. If you look at the state of the world and despair, you are still locked into a paradigm of hope being connected to the promise of a better future. In Judaism, though, we look at the state of the world, of our society, and we roll up our sleeves in an act of hope. So long as we have the power to improve the world, we cannot despair. And so that leads us to one final question for this season. When I look at the world around me, what am I going to change? When I look at this world, this society, at these difficult times, when I look at this world around me, what am I going to change? That could be something that we change about the world. That could be something that we change about ourselves. Or it could be both. For our teshuvah to be effective, meaningful, real today, there has to be an answer to that one question. When I look at the world around me, what am I going to change? It is an uncomfortable question, and thank God for that discomfort. So may we all experience the discomfort that comes before teshuvah. May we on this Yom Kippur embrace the discomfort that leads us to action, to change, to improving ourselves and the world. May we never give in to despair, but instead may we create hope by envisioning and creating newer, healthier paradigms for everyone. May we be divergent in our thinking and being, not to be contrary or to feed our egos, but to illuminate a new way of being for all as our divine mission. And so in this year of 5785, may we support our sacred community so that we may support each other in this, the most essential sacred task. And let us say, Amen. We turn to page 252. Page 252. We invite you to rise as you are able as we open the ark for Avinu Malkeinu.
Avinu
invite you to remain standing as we turn to page 255, page 255, and we remove our scrolls from the ark to prepare to start our Torah service.
Tivnei Chomot Yerushalayim, Ki Bracha Levad Batachnu, Melech El Ram B'Nisa, Adon Olami. The top of page 256, Adonai El Rachum V'Chanu.
No,
Shema Yisrael, Adonai Eloheinu, Adonai Echad. Echad Eloheinu. Echad Eloheinu, Gadol Adonenu, Kadosh v'norah Shemo. Gadlul Adonai iti, Nuromama Shemo Yachtav.
Please be seated. Our Torah reading for Yom Kippur morning can be found on page 266. Page 266. We're starting in the middle of the page. The context here is Moses has called everyone together, those from all across the people, to pay attention that God is establishing a covenant with them. Our Torah reading starts on page 266, our first Aliyah, Deuteronomy chapter 30, verses 1 to 4. Tamod, Tamod, Zafrabot, Morenu Harav Yitzchak, V'moratenu Harav Miriam Lekriyat HaTorah.
Baruch Hu et Adonai Hamvorach. Baruch Adonai Hamvorach Le'olam Va'ed. Baruch Atah Adonai Eloheinu Melech Olam Asher Bachar Banu Mikol Ha'amim V'natan Lanu et Torato. Baruch Atah Adonai Noten HaTorah. Amen. V'haya chiyavo'u alecha kol hadvarim ha'ele habaracha v'hakilala asher natati lefanecha v'ashivota el levavecha bechol hagoyim asher hidichacha Adonai Elohecha Shama V'shavta ad Adonai Elohecha V'shamata v'kolo kechol Asher Anochi mitzavecha Hayom ata uvanecha Bechol levavcha Uvechol nafshecha V'shav Adonai Elohecha Et shvutecha v'richamecha v'shav v'kibetcha mikol ha'amim asher hefitcha Adonai Elohecha shama Imiyeni dachacha biktzei hashamayim misham yekabetcha Adonai Elohecha umisham yekachecha. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher natan lanu Torah emet v'chayei olam nata b'tochenu Baruch atah Adonai noten haTorah. Amen.
Our next reading is from Deuteronomy chapter 30. From verse 5, which you can find on page 267, page 267. Yamod, Yamod, Binyamin ben Avraham v'chaya lekriyat HaTorah.
Baruch Hu Adonai Hamvorach. Baruch Adonai Hamvorach Le'olam Va'ed. Baruch Atah Adonai Eloheinu Melech Haolam Asher bachar banu mikol ha'amim v'natan lanu et Torato Baruch atah Adonai noten ha'Torah. Amen. V'heviacha Adonai Elohecha el aretz asher yashu avotecha v'yirishtaha hitivcha v'irbecha me'avotecha u'mal Adonai Elohecha et levavcha v'levav l'arnecha lava Adonai Elohecha b'chol levavcha v'chol nafshecha lema'an chayecha v'natan Adonai Elohecha et kol halot ha'ele al avecha l'soncha asher edafucha v'ta tashuv v'shamata b'kol Adonai v'asit et kol mitzvotav asher anochi mitzavcha hayom. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher natan lanu Torat emet b'chayei olam nata b'tochenu. Baruch atah Adonai noten haTorah.
You may have noticed in that reading in verse 8, V'ata tashuv. This is the theme of the reading in particular, and the way it connects to our service today. The idea of teshuvah, the idea of return. Our third aliyah, verses 9 to 11.
So I won't do the blessing again, right? Just keep going. Okay, that's the wide resh. There it is. Votircha Adonai Elohecha b'chol masei yadecha v'ifri b'net b'tincha ufri b'hemtecha ufri armatecha letova ki yashuv Adonai lasus alecha letov kasher sas ahal avotecha ki tishma b'kol B'kol Adonai Elohecha lishmor mitzvotav v'chukotav haketuvah b'sefer Torah hazeh ki tashuv el Adonai Elohecha b'chol levavcha v'chol nafshecha ki hamitzvah hazot asher ninochi mitzavcha hayom lo niflet hu Hi mimcha v'lo rechelka hi.
As we move in this reading onto the idea that these mitzvot, these commandments, are not too far from us. They are very imminent, they are very near, as our connection with God can be near. Our next aliyah, verses 12 to 14. Yamod, Yamod, Noach ben David v'Sara l'kriyat HaTorah.
Baruch et Adonai Hamvorah. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher bahar banu mikol ha'amim v'natan lanu et Torato. Baruch atah Adonai noten haTorah.
Amen.
Lo bashamayim hi lemor mi alelanu hashamayma vikahecha lanu biashmi'enu ota v'na'asena v'lo me'ever layam hi lemor mi alelanu el ever hayam vikahecha lanu biashmi'enu ota v'na'asena Ki karov elecha hadavar me'od befi hai uvilvaveha la'asoto. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher natan lanu Torat emet v'chayei olam nota b'tohenu. Baruch atah Adonai noten haTorah.
Amen. Our next aliyah continues verse 15 to 17, and this gets to the crux of the matter. Not only is it not too far from us, but it's up to us. It's our choice. All life is a choice. This is a basic tenet of Judaism. There are consequences to it. And so this Torah portion implores us to make that choice from verse 15. Yamod, Yamod, Gabriel ben Avraham, l'kriyat HaTorah.
Baruch hu et Adonai hamvorach. Baruch Adonai hamvorach leolam vaed. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher bachar banu mikol hamim v'natan lanu et Torato. Baruch atah Adonai noten haTorah.
Amen.
Re'eh natati lefanecha hayom et hachayim v'et hatov v'et hamavet v'et hara asher anochi metzavecha hayom v'hava et Adonai Elohecha lalechet bidrachav v'lishmor mitzvotav v'chukotav u'mishpatav v'chayita v'ravita u'v'rachecha Adonai Elohecha ba'aretz asher ata v'shama l'rishta v'im yifne levavecha ve'lo tishma v'nidachta v'chishtachavita le'elohim acherim va'avatam. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher natan lanu Torat emet v'chayei olam nata b'tochenu. Baruch atah Adonai noten haTorah.
In our final aliyah, verses 18 to 20, God calls heaven and earth as witnesses, just like we have the witnesses of the Torah scrolls for Kol Nidrei. God practically begs the Israelites and therefore begs us to choose life. Our final aliyah.